Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse film, which came out on the 2nd of June. I've currently gone to see it twice, which probably says a lot about it already. I'm really glad you guys picked the new Spider-Man film over the Guardians and the Avatar film, because I feel like I have a lot more to say about this, especially for the first video. I want to get back into it and feel more comfortable. How these videos are going to work is that they're going to be set in different sections, where in each section I'll discuss a different thing about the film. The first section will be a quick overall review, which will be spoiler free and just give my honest review without giving too much away. So if you haven't watched the film yet, you can just watch that and then it will let you know how I feel. Next, I'll delve into the plot and basically say what happens throughout the film, but also give like my insight into what I think works and not works. Next, I'll talk about the characters, where I'll look into each of the main characters and discuss how they develop and what I feel about them during this film. Then I'll make notes on the cinematography and the editing, if I have any key points about it or anything I've really noticed about it. I'm also, at the end, I'll give key points I've missed out or just things I think need to be mentioned about the film. For my quick overall review of Spider-Man, all I can say is it is honestly amazing. It is visually stunning and the story is very compelling. The only complaint I really have with it is that it's part 1 of 2, so it leaves you on a cliffhanger, which I didn't know about, but now I'm really excited for the next film. Now I'm going to be talking about the plot, so if you don't want any spoilers, then turn away now. This film is set 1 year and 4 months after the last film. We start off looking into Gwen and how she's in her universe since being back. And her life is not going very well. Her dad is hunting her because he thinks that she killed Peter Parker, but he doesn't know it's his own daughter yet. We also get to see how that happens in this film, which I like a lot more, and it gives a lot more depth to her character. She ends up fighting a paper villain, which is based off Leonardo da Vinci's sketches, and he comes from a world that's based in that. She has to fight him and save these people, but then get some help from some multiverse Spider-Man. After the villain is captured, her dad finds her and goes to arrest her, so she reveals her identity to him, hoping to change his mind. He doesn't take this though, and he still wants to arrest her for what she did. The Spider-Man then offer her a place in the Spiderverse, which she gladly takes because she doesn't know how to fix the mess that she's created. After this, we cut to Miles and see how he's mainly keeping his life together, but he's struggling here and there. We watch as he juggles a fight between the main villain Spot and then also a guidance counselor meeting with his parents because they don't know about his identity. After chasing Spot, we find out how he has managed to become this way, which is actually very interesting. He was one of the researchers that worked with the Collider in Miles' universe, and when that exploded, he got affected with it and now has this power to create portals. We also find out that he's the reason that Miles got bit by a spider, because he brought a spider from another universe which then bit Miles, which then leads to the conflict later on in the film. After he's told all this, so he accidentally kicks his own ass but gets away with it. Gwen then shows up in Miles' universe saying that she's come to visit him and tells him about the Spiderverse and everything that's gone on recently. But secretly she's there on a mission just to spy on the Spot, but she's taken her time to go see Miles. Spot then manages to enhance his powers so he's able to travel the multiverse, which Gwen was meant to stop, but she was too distracted with Miles and then gets in trouble for it, so she has to go and fix her mess. Which Miles then follows her through the portals to the multiverse and ends up coming with her. We then get to see Mumbattan, which is where we meet the Indian Spider-Man Pivetra, and he's quite a funny character actually.
Break for chai with my auntie.
I love chai tea.
What did you just say?
Chai tea? Chai means tea. You're saying tea.
In this universe, we fight the Spot and try to stop him from using their collider, but he ends up getting away with it anyway and then disappears. Before he gets away though, he ends up showing visions to Miles of what he's going to do to his dad, which is basically going to kill him in a couple of days, but Miles doesn't realise this is what it is yet. Here is where we get to meet Hobie as well, and he's quite a fun character in this film throughout. Next, they have to save a lot of people from fallen buildings and other things that are happening around them, but during this is a cannon event for Pivetra. Miles interrupts this cannon event though, ends up opening a hole in this universe where the Spider-Force people try to contain it. Then they head to HQ where Miles is actually asked to join because Miguel needs to explain to him what he's actually done. He's interrupted a canon event which is very important for the Spider-Man stories, and if they don't happen, if too many of them are stopped and changed, then the universe collapses basically. This is where he learns about canon events and how he's actually an anomaly in his universe and shouldn't actually be Spider-Man. The spider that bit Miles was originally from Earth 42 and was meant to bite that Miles, but because it got transported to his universe and bit him, he instead became Spider-Man. After finding this out and then also realising his dad's gonna die in a couple of days, he wants to stop the event, but all the other Spider-Men are stopping him from doing that. So instead he fights back. This ends up in a massive chase scene where all the Spider-Men come after him and he has to run away from all of them. After escaping all the Spider-Men, he heads back to HQ and uses their device that sends him back home. But in reality, it's not his home. It traced the DNA from the spider bite inside of him and sent it to Earth 42 instead, which we don't realise straight away.
You're right.
What the hell?
This is where we meet the other Miles, 2.0 basically, and find out that he is the Prowler in that universe and he's trapped Miles with his Uncle Aaron. During this, Gwen wants to fight back as well now, but she gets sent back home. But luckily, Hobie's managed to make her a device so she can actually travel the multiverse. So she takes this opportunity to create a team that's hopefully going to save Miles in the next film. This film ends on a cliffhanger where Miles is trapped and in another universe against himself. Gwen is building up a team to try and help him while all these other Spider-Men are against him. It ends on so much tension and just makes me really want to watch the next film already, and I'm really sad that it doesn't come out till next year. Honestly, I didn't know what the story was going to be for this film, but I actually really enjoyed it. It takes its time with the story and developing the characters even more than it did in the first film, so we get to feel for them more. The bad guy for this film is really cool and creative, and I really like how he's linked to Miles. It actually makes sense and makes it very believable that he wants to hurt Miles in such a way. I like how Miles and then Gwen and other Spider-Men want to fight back against what should happen. It makes it so interesting and real, but I think that also that Miles is an anomaly and that he starts this makes sense. In the first Spider-Man film, Miles was the main character, and that was very obvious because it was his origin story and how he became his own Spider-Man. But in this film, Gwen is also a main character alongside Miles. She gets her own scenes and we get to see more about her than just focusing on Miles. It gives her a lot more depth than the last film did. I especially like seeing her dad conflict, the relationship with Miles, and how she faces the opposition, and it just makes me like her overall a lot more. Miles in this film is a lot older and he's a lot more confident in his role as Spider-Man, but he's still very similar to the first film. The only other thing that's different is he has a lot more jealousy over who Gwen's been hanging out with, obviously because of his attraction towards her, but I also like his opposition in this film. I like his opposition in this film because it makes him feel like he really wants to do right and he wants to be a proper good guy and not just let these bad things happen to people. Peter B. Parker is also in this film, and he's also joined by his kid Mayday that he's had since the last one. He is still his funny and lovable self, but he doesn't really play a major role in this film like he did in the last one. In this film we also meet Hobie, who is Spider-Punk in his universe. He helps Miles throughout the story and actually helps him rebel against the other Spider-Men. I feel like he wants the rebellion to happen but just doesn't know how to start it himself, so he helps Miles do it instead. But I also feel like he knows a lot more than the other people do or wants more change. Pavetra, the Indian Spider-Man that we meet from Mumbattan, is really cool and creative, and I really like his character and I really just wish we saw more of him in this film. He's shown in his own universe a lot with this funny humour and that, but then he kind of just gets pushed aside once we go back to HQ. Miguel is the main man of the Spider-Verse and he's the one that keeps it all going. He's very strict and unfunny, which is not like the other Spider-Man, which makes him seem odd. I also find it interesting that he has fangs and a weird suit, which I think we should have learned more about because I don't really understand that. The last character I'm going to talk about is the main bad guy in this film, which is Spot. His origin story of how he's created is kind of sad and you kind of feel for him throughout this film. He's quite funny and goofy, but then throughout the film as his power progresses and he takes more control, he becomes more serious and more dangerous, and you actually go from really liking him and being funny to actually being scared of him, which is really good for a bad guy, I think. Also, as I've already said, his link to Miles also makes sense and actually works really well in this film. In this film, there are a lot of little bits here and there, which is why I love the Spider-Man film. There's always something new that you're going to find in every single watch. Overall, personally, I really love this film and think that it's a great watch. And on my scale, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. I recommend anyone to go and watch it because it's just so good and you'll easily enjoy it. If you have any questions or have any suggestions for other videos, then just comment them down below and I will reply as soon as I can. Thank you guys. Bye.
bet this does even propaganda, bro, to distract you from the truth. Because that's what they want.
I've never robbed anybody in my life. Please don't make this a bad experience for me.
Bad experience? I'm trying to run away. Get out of here.
Anyway, you've heard of Alchemax? I